Hi again, and welcome to yet another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. I'm your host for this Odyssey, Brock Lee, and what an unbelievable list I've got for you today. Quite likely, this one particular list shall go down in history as not only the greatest top 10 worst of lists ever, but I think this is the one that's going to really launch this channel. I'm serious. Muy serioso, in fact. Because today's top 10 worst of list is top 10 worst songs of the Beatles. A little band that maybe some of you have heard of. And you're probably out there thinking to yourself, what does this guy think he's doing? Taking on the big boys? Number one, worst of the Beatles. I mean, that's career suicide. How am I supposed to broach my way into double-digit viewers when I'm attacking the most beloved musical act in all of history with a worst of list? It's freaking career suicide. But those of you who have been unfortunate enough to have witnessed previous episodes will know that I will roll the dice from time to time and take the risks that many other fringe elements will not dare to tread. Again, I'm not messing with you here. This one's the big one. This one is the old man in the sea, or perhaps the old man in the C-section. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I've got a little sniffle. But don't worry, it's not catching. Before we get on with the business at hand, I've got to take care of the business at hand. I've got just a few minor league disclaimers, just to kind of provide the sturdy underpinning that societal dropouts like myself need to glom onto in order to try and navigate the difficult and dangerous waters of video blogging in today's, hyper intolerant and disturbingly pathological society that we're all forced to endure. But anyway, let me just get right to it, because this list, I can't put this list off. Now that I've decided to do it, now I decided to roll the dice and go for broke. I just got to get on with it. So anyway, number one, I'm an oddball. I've spent 30 years trying to start a bloodless revolution to bring equity for all, and liberate our minds, our souls, our culture, our sexual inhibitions, our spirits, in fact, even from the greedy, malevolent, gross, moist overlords that rule us with an iron fist and have destroyed all of the potential for harmony and growth and the pursuit of happiness, even, in an effort to try and build themselves opulent castles, ivory towers, luxury boxes for a wide variety of sports teams, for God's sakes. Look, if I was building a luxury box, I would build it for something that's, maybe at a movie theater or something worth watching. I mean, sports is just sort of redundant, isn't it? It's just, 30 something teams in every league. And at the end of the season, one out of those teams wins, everybody else loses, and all their fans feel like garbage. And what's the point? All it really does is teach us how to hate people based on the color of uniforms they wear, especially now with all the free agency and whatnot that you modern kids have to sift your way through. Why else would I hate somebody from Green Bay coming from Chicago if it weren't for all the hatred that sports helps ingrain into us? And it's really just all about, teaching each other how to hate somebody from New York and teaching somebody to hate somebody from Green Bay is the same that, our military industrial complex does to all of us when they teach us how to hate people from China or from the Soviet Union and stuff. Anyway, so, I've done a lot of books, I've done a lot of productions, music, movies, all that quest in that 30 years inspired me to really be attentive to various different details. I had a radio series for a long time, local television series for a long time, all dedicated towards trying to lift up the spirits and visibility of those who've been marginalized by mainstream media and kicked to the curb by what I lovingly refer to as a third-party outsourced propaganda ministry disguised as cultural mechanisms. And, you're going to hear some things on this list invariably that you won't believe, that you won't trust me. I mean, you probably don't even trust me just even looking at me and all the stuff and the squints and the stuff and the whatnots. Makes you think that this guy, here's a real, this is a guy who wasn't even qualified, honest enough to be a used car salesman. I know. I get it. The fact of the matter is, in today's modern day world, if you believe anything that you hear, the only reason why you see or hear anything in today's day and age is because some, sort of misanthropic jerk off at the top of the food chain wants you to hear it. Only if it serves the agenda of the ruling elite will you be allowed to see anything in today's cultural landscape. So I'm insisting that if you hear something coming out of my mouth or going into my mouth, depending on how my plans for the second half of this video wind up turning out, I insist that you go and look it up for yourself. You should be looking up all this stuff yourself. You let the networks fact check everything that goes on. Why would you? I mean, the networks are the ones who are presenting whatever programming it is. Why would you fact check the people who? Why would you believe the fact checks of the people who are presenting you the stuff that they're force feeding you? I mean, you should believe any of that stuff. So you should go fact check all this stuff. Me, NPR, MSNBC, Fox News, Breitbart, Newsmax. All these people are liars and scumbags who got an agenda and they're looking to activate your endless capacity to avoid any sort of individuality, intellectual pursuits, and just, shove a bunch of pablum down your throats and call it Christmas. So you should be, hey, look, it's probably nothing that you don't know already. You just, you feel more comfortable not knowing. You believe all this stuff about ignorance being bliss and, curiosity killing the cat. They got you. They got you, sucker. And I'm telling you how it is. I'm the only one without any skin in the game, and I'm telling you, don't believe me. I'm right most of the time. I'll be honest with you. I am. I say a lot of stuff, but that stuff usually turns out to be pretty much on the money. But I want you to again, I'm insisting. If you hear something that you're not digging, go look it up, man. It'll take you 5 minutes. Do you really have something better to do with your life at this point? I'm going to go march with a funny sign. I hate everybody. I hate people hating. Hate is my only form of love. And number 2, I'm not partisan. Both political parties are dedicated to screwing us over and working exclusively for the ruling elite. I've had it. It's garbage. It's hate-mongering at its very best, and it's all designed to divide and conquer us. So up your nose with a rubber hose, all you people who are expecting everybody to choose sides and cast aspersions and paint everybody with a broad brushstroke. It's all, it's all a bunch of garbage. I'm telling you, total garbage. All right, so now this list is top 10 worst songs by the Beatles. Now, you might not think that this has, been rigorously adjudicated. Again, taking a look at me, judge me by my looks, do you? Bad idea right there. Everybody says never judge a book by its cover, but, every single person who says that is such the gigantic hypocrite. Is one of the biggest things that hypocrisy, it's the poster child of hypocrisy. Everybody judges books by their cover. It's an oddball thing to point out, though. Funny enough, judging magazines by their cover is actually probably totally valid and probably a good approach. Judging books by their cover, not so much. Okay? But I get it. Okay? But there are actually a team that I put together of former dental hygienists who gathered together with me outside of the Lightning Line for Disney World's Tron roller coaster. And we take copious doses of MDMA mixed with marijuana gummies and come up with these lists. And one other thing before we get going, commercials, the most popular segment of Top 10 Worst Of lists with our viewers time and time again on polls that we've done. And so today's sponsors are Stool Whip from the makers of Cool Whip. It's Stool Whip with very regrettable ingredients. Just adds a lot of zest and spice to every dessert. Why not try some and see if... And this Dookie Howser was part of the same... I bought those jokes off of the same writer, a fecal-philiac, and former insurance salesman. Frack and the Beanstalk, from the, just like a children's nursery rhyme about fracking and people dying from chemicals seeping into their water table. But let me ask you something before we go on just about Jack and the Beanstalk. Let me ask you something, okay? Because you all seem like rational people who's probably their only mistake, has really been clicking on this video. So perhaps a little advice you can comment in the comment section. I think that's where the comments go. I've never seen one on any of my videos, so I'm only guessing here at this point. But, so Jack gets the magic beans, right? They're like, magic beans up your nose with a rubber hose, and they toss the beans out. But the beans grow into giant beanstalks in the fable. And they were starving, and this was they traded in their cow for the beans, and they're like looking at these beans and like going like, Jack, you've killed us all, Jack. Jack, what's wrong with you, Jack? You killed us all. Well, let me ask you something. Okay? Like, if you've got, I think it was 3 giant beanstalks in your backyard, well, riddle me this, Batman. What exactly, what, I forget. What is it that grows off of beanstalks? Let me think. Something starts with the letter B. Beans. Oh yeah, beans. These guys, this family, has just grown a gigantic beanstalk that goes all the way up into the clouds. Why not just harvest the frickin' beans? You could be feeding the whole frickin' world off of beans and making, whatever this is a long time ago. I don't know what, billions of dollars in today's money would. I don't think they do reverse inflation, numbers about what $1 billion would be worth in the beanstalk era. But I'm guessing maybe $100, $200 or something off of selling these beans. Not only just eating them, and maybe you get, a little bored of them or something like that, but you can make some tofu and whatnot. Probably soybeans, I'm guessing. The beans that he tosses out in the window of every depiction I've seen of those beans has been soybean-esque. So why don't they just harvest the frickin' beans? They'd be like 100 heirs, like the richest people in Jack and the Beanstalk vintage and whatnot. And yet no. They go climbing up the damn beanstalk. And if you read the actual story, Jack is like a total bastard. He goes and the old lady who's married to the giant is like really nice, and Jack says he's tired, he's like blah blah blah. She feeds him, and then the husband comes in or whatever, and he gets all blustery and whatnot, and the wife hides Jack. And what does Jack do? He steals their stuff, and he goes up 3 times and steals their stuff, and the whole time he's totally rooting out this lady who's been all nice to him and everything like that, and steals all their most prized and valuable possessions. Jack is a freaking thief. So not only are they so stupid that they can't figure out that they got endless amount of beans to feed the whole world and stuff, but he's also a thief, and he rips off the old lady. The giant might be, walking around talking a bunch of smack, but he doesn't do anything. Right? I don't know. So he runs away with all the stuff, the goose, the whatever, gold and stuff like that, all that stuff. Steals it from him, and then, as the giant goes to get his stuff back, Jack cuts down the beanstalk, and the giant dies, and the beanstalk dies. So now, on top of being a thief, on top of being an idiot, he's also, like, I don't know what you call it, war crimes or something like that. He's destroyed the giant beanstalk that could have fed the world. So Jack, in Jack and the Beanstalk, by my way of looking at it, is the worst person in history. Like, Jack is responsible. And, like today, in today's day and age, there's still 23,000 people die every single day of starvation-related causes, most of whom are kids. At least many of them. 9 million people every year die from starvation-related causes because of Jack and his greedy ass thieving ways. So, anyway, put in the comments at the bottom what you think about the whole Jack and the Beanstalk thing. I think I'm onto something here. I think that whole situation's just all a bunch of, this nonsense. The people who, don't, really, aren't really grateful for the good things that they have in their lives and turn to crime and criminality and idiocy. Anyway, so finally it's time for the aforementioned top 10 list, top 10 worst of list. I know you're probably wondering how it is that I managed to stretch it out for so long. I apologize for that. But anyway, here we go. Top 10 worst Beatles songs. And I'm not going to include, I don't have any cover songs here. I don't have anything off of like the anthology series like Real Love and Free as a Bird and any of that stuff. I don't really consider that to be Beatles songs. It's just sort of creepy. It's almost like necrophilia. It's the musical version of necrophilia, right? Taking some garbagey little snippet of recording that John Lennon made, to just probably try to remember a riff in passing, but he never followed up on to finish the song, so he probably didn't think that stuff was worthy, or else he would have put it on, Men Love Avenue. So, what else I got? I'm not gonna be that guy who just goes after, the obvious stuff. It's not my way. So I'm not gonna do Maggie May. I'm not gonna cheap out with, Why Don't We Do It in the Road or Wild Honey Pie or any of that. So that's Low Rent. Here at Top 10 Worst Stuff, you're not gonna get Low Rent. You're going to get actual full songs that a lot of people, have been given a free pass on for a long, long time. I mean, these guys were great and untouchable in terms of like their overall body of work. I mean, nobody can come near what these guys did in terms of pop and rock and some experimental stuff. And it's, it's a shame nobody would, any hair on their nuggets would actually do a list that doesn't, sort of cheap out, just going after a bunch of Ringo songs. I mean, that's easy, and Ringo might make an appearance on this list somewhere, or Ringo song or whatever. I don't know. I haven't looked at this list yet. My team of clog dancing somnambulists, or whatever it was I said, to put this list together. I could have done, all 10 songs that are on Introducing the Beatles, that VJ album that they did before Meet the Beatles. Because all of them are, I Started Standing There, pretty good. Really good, actually. What is it, the other original songs that are on there? Are any of them worth a damn? No. I could have done, God, all those pain in the ass, like Flying and everybody, songs that everybody points out. I'm not going to do that. This is a great list. This is a well thought out list by a considerate aficionado of rock and roll. Okay, so deal with it. Number 10 on the list. I'm manning up. Right off the bat, I'm going with Hello Goodbye. Hello Goodbye is pure saccharine garbage. It is, well, you say yes, I say no. You say bye, I say hello. What? Are you 4? Is Paul McCartney 4? Was Paul McCartney 4 in 1960? 7-ish when he wrote this piece of forgettable, sugary, syrupy white bread nonsense. You know, it sucks. It's stupid. Everybody just times is like, oh, yeah. Well, I will, however, put in a little tiny caveat here. That little weird stuff they do in the coda is fan-freaking-tastic. That's a hey blood, Ringo's jamming his ass off. Now, if they would have made the whole song for that part of the hey Lola stuff and built the song off of that riff, for the best freaking thing they've ever done. But they didn't. They go with the stupid bye, say, bye, 9. Tell your hello, goodbye story walking, buddy. Nonsense. Get that crap off my front porch. All right, so we're off to the races now. I told you this was going to be a hard hitting, no nonsense, top 10 worst of list actual songs, and not what's that one? Dig it. That's not a song. That's just like a little transitional like thing. Her Majesty. It's not a song. It's just obviously designed to be just like a little, transitional nothing. I was supposed to do the little segment that they do. What's it between in the medley of Abbey Road? There's like a couple of things that they do just to transition between songs. Am I supposed to count that stuff? Like the connective transitional interstitial stuff that they threw into the medley? Am I supposed to go, well, it's not part of she came through it's not part of You Never Give Me Your Money, and it's not part of Sun King or wherever the hell it is. No, it's top 10 worst Beatles songs, buddy. Get over yourself. Number 9, What You're Doing. What You're Doing. I mean, what a pile of... I mean, it's really just obviously a throwaway tune. Look, it's... I mean, these guys in between fantastic albums are doing 2 or 3 singles a year on top of the albums that they were doing that weren't on the original albums and stuff like that. Lady frickin' Madonna. Hey Jude is not on an album. I mean, Day Tripper, not on an album. Others. I Want to Hold Your Hand was not really actually on an album. She Loves You is not on an album. They're on the American versions that they did with all that, plastic surgery that they carved up all the British albums and the singles, and they made a bunch of extra albums. I will say, though, that Beatles' second album, that one release, I had a copy of that, and it's a total jam. Total jam. One of their best albums. I love it. It's rocker after rocker, harmonies, Ringo, who, by the way, is like the most underrated drummer ever. This Ringo, especially in the early days, invented punk rock. I mean, if you listen to, if you go to, what's that thing, the Star Club, Hamburg, the sessions and stuff, and listen to I Want to Sit Right Down and Cry Over You, and they do a version of that on the BBC, live BBC sessions, which is really good, but not as intense and sizzling as Sit Right Down and Cry Over You off of the Star Club recordings. But you listen to that, and it is 10 times more punk than anything that the Sex Pistols ever did, or the Ramones, or any of those, the Clash. I mean, It sounds like they're half asleep when you compare it to how rockin' the Beatles were in the Star Club sessions. Unbelievable. And why they didn't put that song on any studio recording is beyond me. I mean, because that is immediately that one. It's a cover version, but that one song, with the intensity that they were playing it live, if they could have caught that, beats everything on. Certainly on Please Please Me / Introducing the Beatles, depending on which version you got, and With the Beatles / Meet the Beatles, and with effortlessly. It's just like so phenomenally intense that I don't know how many, they got some, obviously over the course of all of music history, there's been like intense music, but these guys were freaking face melters. And this is 1962 or whenever they're doing it. And they, Brian Epstein came in, cleaned them up, put them in suits and haircuts and boots and all that stuff, and made them bow after songs so that they would, be more palatable, and made them do all the ballads and stuff so that they could get a lot of, wider audience distribution and popularity. But he just sucked the life out of that band. I mean, that band was light years beyond everybody before Brian Epstein, whitewashed them. But what you're doing, it sounds like a freaking nursery rhyme. It's just, it's god awful. And these are the guys at that point, they're already doing like Nowhere Man. And Norwegian Wood and Drive My Car, like great rockers, and, Ticket to Ride and all that stuff. So what you're doing is, it's a misstep. It's bad. It's pretty much unlistenable and totally annoying and grating to the senses. You're like, that's, probably the one of their most skippable tracks of that particular era. On number 8, this one, I'm going after Abbey Road a little bit here. And it's again, where mere mortals fear to tread in castigating the holiest of holies, Abbey Road. But I gotta tell you, number 8 is Mean Mr. Mustard. I don't get it. It's not a good song. It's irritating. And it's not really a fully developed, it's just some sort of idea. And McCartney saves it by putting it in the middle of a melody. I'm sorry, thing with a lot of things together. I don't know, my brain isn't working. It's like 3 a.m. As I'm doing this, medley. But it's just like stupid. The music is dumb and trite, and the lyrics are nonsensical. Mean Mr. Mustard sleeps in the park, shaves in the dark, trying to save paper. What? Is this some sort of incoherent blather, or are we supposed to like dig deep into like these lyrics and find some references to booting up a dose of horse? Is that what it is? Are we talking about surreptitious booting of the horse? Either way, it sucks. I mean, it sucks. It's great to hear these guys, because even their suckage is, at least intriguing. You want to hear, shoot. Sorry about that. You want to hear the suckage because it provides a perspective. It's like a palate cleanser. You're not eating a sorbet or a sherbet in between courses at a banquet or 3-star Michelin restaurant for the sherbet. You're eating it to cleanse the palate so that you might have higher attenuated taste buds for the next gourmet course. And that's Mean Mr. Mustard kind of, I guess, I don't know, it's not even really comedy relief. It just sucks. Now, I gave Polythene Pam a pass, and it's really in the same league as Mean Mr. Mustard. It's just throwaway garbage, waste of time. If you would have taken the time that it took for Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam, you could have put on a decent song. I mean, I don't know what else they were doing at the time. Lennon was just about ready to come out with Instant Karma, Cold Turkey. I mean, Harrison had a deep cut that, talk about a little bit later from the outtakes of the White Album, actually two of outtakes from the White Album. That could have slotted in there very nicely. I thank you very much. But Polythene Pam does kind of rock. And, this is a band that has, by this time, they did rock and stuff, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like they were, it just wasn't something, it wasn't like blasting through the stratosphere types of hard rock songs. Come Together is a, sort of proto metal type of thing, as was certainly I Want You, She's So Heavy. And Oh Darling is rocking, but all that stuff is not rocking, like in the sense of like what I was talking about earlier, the Star Club days. They're just rocking their asses off. Come Together is like a slow jam. It's heavy, and so is I Want You. It's a slow jam. It's super heavy and dark, but it's slow. And, Oh Darling is an old, 50s number, and it kind of rocks in its own way, but it's slow. These guys slowed down. They stopped playing, they started doing drugs, and they started slowing down. They couldn't play those riffs that they were doing, off of Beatles' second album. It's rocking as hell, and just electrifying and stuff. And, Polythene Pam has at least a little bit of juice. It's doing the part, and Ringo's doing that tom riff towards the end, second half, whatever. And it's kind of good. So Polythene Pam doesn't make the list, but Mean Mr. Mustard, sorry. You got to get called out, mean mustard, Mr. Mustard. All right, so number 7, and now is the first of the Hello Goodbye is on here already, but Hello Goodbye is more of like a pop song. This one is more that sort of Paul McCartney fell into a pattern in the from 67 to 70 of doing dance hall music. And I don't know, a lot of it is regrettable. The When I'm 64 kind of started the thing, I guess. Excuse me, and but it's fun for what it is and contextually within the scope of all the variety and stuff. And Sgt. Pepper, the biggest regret out of everything that they did was George Martin. And they had this thing where they would release singles and not include those singles on the subsequent albums. And most of the time it's kind of cool and interesting, and forced them, in a songwriting sense to really challenge them to come up with a bunch of top-notch songs. Because if those singles that you're doing aren't super intense, then they're not going to stand alone like that. And not putting Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane on Sgt. Pepper the way they should have been is perhaps, I think, one of the greatest mistakes in music history. Because if you, I mean, you might have been able to squeeze one of them in there without taking any tracks off of the album, but you can certainly kick Lovely Rita to the curb on Sgt. Pepper to sneak in. Let's say that you can, within the album pressing itself, sneak in Penny Lane. You certainly could have kicked Lovely Rita to the curb and gotten rid of that to bring in Strawberry Fields Forever. And if you added those two songs, which they were initially intended to be part of, then Sgt. Pepper would have undisputed best album in history. A lot of people degrade Sgt. Pepper because some of the songs aren't really, the best that band had to offer. Lovely Rita, Good Morning, which is fun, and, badass saxophone thing that was totally unique and rockin', which, again, from the time that they stopped touring to the end of their careers, they stopped doing fast tempo numbers. So Good Morning is, at least it's got a little, adrenaline flowing through it, when a lot of these other tunes didn't. But, so Sgt. Pepper gets dinged up a lot. And it is the greatest album achievement in music history. And if George Martin, who's the A&R guy who made that decision, would have just had a little bit of balls, and put those songs on Sgt. Pepper where they belonged, it would have been the undisputed. I mean, nobody would ever. I mean, Strawberry Fields, in my opinion, is the best song they ever did. And Penny Lane's a jam. The bass line of Penny Lane's just, even the bass line alone. But it's, those two songs are stellar, and not putting them on Sgt. Pepper with the rest of the grouping of songs that they did for those sessions was a crime. It really was. And everybody, I don't know what they were thinking. It took them a long time to do Sgt. Pepper, and they've been doing 2 albums a year. So, the record company probably had, some apprehension about what they were up to, not touring and taking a long time in the studio, how it gets. But anyway, so When I'm 64 kind of fits in the context of Sgt. Pepper. Where I think the dance hall stuff really starts to go awry is on the following release, Magical Mystery Tour, with Paul McCartney's Your Mother Should Know. That song is horrible. It is, just, it's like eating a mayonnaise sandwich. And it's like, I don't even know what they were thinking to do a song that bad. They were just probably scraping the bottom of the barrel. I don't know. They're so busy doing other stuff that they couldn't have come up with something better than Your Mother Should Know. And it's like they keep repeating the same stuff over and over again. It's not even it's like, did he fart that one out on his way to the studio one day? And it's like, oh, I got a great new tune. I wrote it in the car on the way over. Garbage. And, had they not done Your Mother Should Know, you think anybody would miss it? I think again, another sort of aerial viewpoint of, what they were doing in that era. They pretty much kind of recorded 5 songs or whatever it was for Magical Mystery Tour. And then they recorded 4, I think it was, songs for Yellow Submarine at the same time. all on the tail end of '67, and again, it's sort of just a wish list, pie in the sky, pipe dream type of thing to a revisionist history. But wouldn't it have been great if they would have just, instead of doing the Magical Mystery Tour movie, if they would have just gone on and finished off an album's worth of stuff with the material they created for Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine? Because, like, that collection of songs that they did in that tail end of '67 they're all masterpieces. And take what they had, Hello Goodbye, which is, again, the Worst Of list was still a popular, I think maybe even number one hit, which was one of these singles, was released as a single. The American version of Magical Mystery Tour has a bunch of those songs that they released as singles: Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man. So if you took all that stuff, I mean, think about it. You'd have one album would be Magical Mystery Tour and Fool on the Hill and I Am the Walrus and Hey Bulldog and Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love, Hello Goodbye, and that other garbage. Only the other one from George Harrison on Yellow Submarine. It's All Too Much, which is maybe it's top three, certainly for George Harrison songs throughout the Beatles. Maybe four. Something, Here Comes the Sun, Guitar Gently Weeps, and It's All Too Much for me. Anyway, but think of all those singles that they did in that era. I'm going to reposition history, my time machine, and I'm putting Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane on Sgt. Pepper, and I'm taking all the other singles that they did, Hello Goodbye, All You Need Is Love, it was Baby You're a Rich Man, and all the songs they did for Magical Mystery Tour and all the songs they did for Yellow Submarine, and put that all on one album. That is one of the baddest albums of all time. Totally badass. And it's got everything. It's got hard rockers, riff-oriented, like proto-metal, again, heavy metal stuff before it was like really kind of, right before it was coming together with Hey Bulldog. It's got the psychedelic experimental stuff with It's All Too Much. It's got showstopper examples of phenomenal songwriting with All You Need Is Love and Psychedelia of I Am the Walrus. I mean, that album already would, it's top 10 of all time album if they would have only listened to me. And number 6, and here we are. I am finally going to go after Ringo a little bit. Don't Pass Me By. I'm sorry, but I couldn't pass by Don't Pass Me By in terms of the worst songs of Beatles. Sorry, Ringo. I know you were, trying your best. You get, a passing grade of C for effort, not A for effort. I'm sorry, I can't even give you an A for effort on this one. It's really bad, and never should have been on an album. I know they were trying to get Ringo some royalties and stuff like that, and let him wet his beak a little bit, as it were. Big mistake. It sucks. It's horrible. And half the White Album was freaking disposable. It really is. And it's fun to listen to because you get a perspective, and more, less is. A band like this, you want to hear as much as you can because even their failures are interesting. But anyway, number 5 of the top 10 worst Beatles songs Yes, we're actually doing it. Number 5 is You Like Me Too Much. Going back to that era around Beatles for Sale and Help and all that stuff. You Like Me Too Much is a Harrison tune. Horrible. God, it was just unlistenable. The stupidity of it, the pettiness of the lyrics, and the, childishness of the whole thing. It's childish. Like, but I love you. Hey, girl. Yeah, it does feel like it was like a bubblegum rock type of thing, like from Leif Garrett or Bobby Goldsboro. Number 4, top 10 worst Beatles songs. This one makes it on every list. That was kind of, I don't know, it just sort of has to be here because, I'm going after Abbey Road again here. This one, however, I think everybody pretty much agrees, and the band hated it. Maxwell Silverhammer. Again, I'm playing the chalk here. Everybody's top 10 worst of list has got Maxwell Silverhammer in it. It's just, it's probably the number 1 on a lot of people's lists of their worst song of all time. It's obnoxious. It's stupid. There's a story within the song. The story doesn't make any sense. It's just convoluted. About what a serial killer. Who is Maxwell anyway? It's guy who sneaks up behind people and bashes their heads in. And this is a song that we're supposed to have any faith in, or confidence in, or enjoy, or what? I don't know. I don't even know what Paul McCartney's up to. But he continues, and this is again another. So I mean, the White Album. Really, I got a lot of problems with it. The good songs on the White Album are so phenomenal that it doesn't even really matter that half of the album is full of garbage. But half the album is full of garbage, really. Now, I'm not going to go after, I'm not going to be that guy who, I'm not going to put Revolution number 9 on the top of this list. It's not going to be on this list. Revolution number 9 is awesome. I don't know what people always denigrate it. It's crazy. It's the most exposure that any avant-garde music has ever gotten in the history of music. And why does everybody feel like everything's got to be right down the center, pop and rock that's right down the middle? These guys, when they colored Outside the Lines, it's amazing stuff. Like George Harrison with Within You and Without You, amazing. Inner Light, amazing. Just profoundly beautiful and complex and totally off the beaten path by a band that was the most popular band on planet Earth ever. And they're doing all this stuff. Revolution 9 is heroic. And powerful. However, my item number 3 is the exact opposite of that. Honey Pie by Paul McCartney. It's so bad. Again, it's going back to this old-timey music dance hall stuff that he had a penchant for doing. And I'm not going to put Obla Di Obla Da. A lot of people would like to see Obla Di Obla Da on this list. I'm not doing it. Obla Di Obla Da's a jam. It's unique. It's weird. Yeah, it's got that same sort of hippity-dippity-doo stuff that McCartney was doing all over the place at this time. But that particular one is actually really good. And Ringo's jamming his ass off. And, and it's fun. It was really super popular. It's not like Your Mother Should Know and Honey Pie over here, where it's just stupid and childish and, again, sort of designed for a 3-year-old, and immediately forgettable, and a throwaway tune that if it was on anybody else's album would be considered garbage. Number 2, the top 10 worst Beatles songs of all time. And, I don't know, a lot of people might not be on the same page with me as this one. I'm going to go after George Harrison. All the way up here at number 2 on the list, George Harrison. Yeah, he's going to get hit. He's going to get dinged in a big way for the song Long, Long, Long. Again, on the White Album, the garbagey half. Long, Long, Long is boring, boring, boring. I'm sorry, but you listen to this stuff, it's like when he's going to wake up. I mean, it's almost like he's half asleep. When he's recording this stuff. Every so often, Ringo will show up with a doom, de-doo, de. Like, boring. And it's not like really carving out new territory for the band or going into some exotic multi-timbred vibe or anything. That's only good when the song is good. Excuse me, this song is not good. And it's especially grating and upsetting when you, now that they've made the outtakes from the White Album available on the anthologies, where there were 2 other songs that George Harrison had mostly in the can, pretty much ready to go for during the White Album sessions, and the first one being Sour Milk Sea, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's way cooler than Long, Long, Long. I would rather see, on a heartbeat, I would choose Sour Milk Sea over Long, Long, Long. And Sour Milk Sea gets weird. It goes into some new territory, something different and experimental that, Long, Long, Long seemed to have been attempting to do, but just, again, turned out to be trite, trite, trite. The other one is an undeniable classic, Not Guilty. And if you haven't heard any of those, just gotta, take a listen. Because Not Guilty is jam, a hardcore jam. And one of the few times that Harrison really lets loose with a nice fat solo at the end, and they go into a jam section. And the song is great. And it's got some sort of unique guitar fills that he's doing throughout. And I mean, if Not Guilty would have been on instead of Long, Long, Long on the White Album, it would be an all-time classic. And that's how good it is. I mean, it's really, and he does a version of it later on a solo album. This is horrible, boring. It doesn't have any of the energy, the vitality that they had together when they were a band. And George Harrison used to complain all the time about having this big stockpile of songs and stuff, and that's part of why he was so pissed off, is because he could never get enough songs onto the albums, and then he blows his load on All Things Must Pass, and then from then on, it's sort of like he proved to the world, whether it was intentional or not, that he was only good for about 2 songs per album. I absolutely adore some of the tunes on Living in the Material World. Living in the Material World, Give Me Love, but especially Sue Me, Sue You Blues is just awesome. And I think that Andy Newmark on the drums, one of the best drum riffs ever. And then Try Some, Buy Some is revelatory. I mean, it's one of the best songs and arrangements that's ever been done by any of them throughout all of their history. The part and the chorus, I guess it is, when the bass note progressions in the orchestra is just breathtaking. But Long, Long, Long. I mean, if you're all pissed off about not getting enough songs on Beatles albums, why is George Harrison going with Long, Long, Long over Not Guilty? And Long, Long, Long is B-side written all over it. I'm sorry. But you can throw it on a B-side for Ballad of John Yoko or something. Or is that Old Brown Shoe? I think they did Old Brown Shoe, which is another classic. Why is Old Brown Shoe not on the White Album? It's such a jam. And it's just it's a jam compared to Long, Long, Long. What am I, chopped liver over here? So Long, 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 number 2. It sucks. Just flat out sucks. If anybody else does Long, Long, Long on some other album, provided that they aren't some dead-ass bunch of nobodies like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, it's the Crosby, Stills, and Nash B-side. Long, Long, Long. That's how bad it is. It's an Eagles tune. Well, I'm sorry. I stepped over the line there. Nothing is as bad as an Eagles tune. It might be boring, it might be trite, it might be forgettable, but it's no Eagles tune. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize to all you good listeners out there. And then to finish things off, number 1 of the top 10 worst Beatles songs of all time. Got to go for that White Album again. Sorry, but the worst song they ever did, without a doubt, is Good Night. Frickin' bell. I got to get the doohickey looked at. Spray a little WD-40 on that stuff. Good Night is, just first of all, it's just like a song that doesn't need to be public. Oh God, sorry. It's so, a lot of people will, go after Paul McCartney for All Together Now or Yellow Submarine even, about being childish tunes. Those tunes are like Stravinsky's Rite of Spring when compared to Good Night. How simple-minded, and again, sort of nursery rhyme melody, and Ringo singing it. It just takes, supposedly Lennon did a demo version of it or something like that, and was really, in his voice had a little bit more authenticity and honesty to it. But coming out of Ringo, it just sort of sounds, again, super forgettable and regrettable. And you listen to it, nobody listens to it. At least, Revolution number 9 had all kinds of, impact on people who listened to it. It was like nobody was ever on the fence about it. Good Night is just so forgettable. It's just obvious. If they would have done a single album, there's no way that Long, Long, Long and Good Night make it on the list, especially as closing tracks to the end of an album side. All right, let's take a look at the, the closing tracks on the previous albums that they did. Because closing tracks back in the vinyl era, closing tracks even on side 1, your opening track on side 1, closing track on side 1, opening track on side 2, closing track on side 2, all had to be killer dillers. That's just the way that the album era was. You had to, you had knockout tunes to open and close each side of the album, which is part of what I think motivated a lot of great songs to be written, because everybody knew you had to have that badass opener closer on both sides. And the Beatles did. I think was She Said for Revolver on the closing of side 1. I think it certainly was on the American version of it. And then the closing song on side 2 is Tomorrow Never Knows, one of the best creative, wild songs in all of history, all of rock. And then on Sgt. Pepper, you have, closer on side 1, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. Wild, psychedelic, freak out ride that is, hardly anybody could ever have done besides those guys, and just profoundly weird and intense and fun. And then, the closer of side 2 is Day in the Life. One of the best songs ever made. / written. And then, Magical Mystery Tour doesn't really count. It was released as a double EP. The actual album, Magical Mystery Tour. So, yeah, they kind of skip over that. But the closers on the White Album, on the end of each of those sides, so I don't remember what's on the side 1 or side 2, the closing songs on those sides. But I remember side 3 and side 4 was Long, Long, Long and Good Night. And I think that's part of why people think that album half sucks in many respects, because the closers are boring, droll, nothing. Come on, everyone. That's my imitation of the song Good Night. Anyway, so I've got extra credit. Honorable mentions, I think a lot of people refer to these as. And these are on this list not because they're bad per se in terms of kind of what they are, but bad in both cases because they're flat out plagiarism. And, most people were copying off the Beatles, but the Beatles, these two songs, clearly stealing from others. And number 1 is Sun King. Again, I'm going after Abbey Road. I mean, Abbey Road's got, some, here and there, some kind of not so great stuff. I mean, it's overwhelmed by stuff that's so uncommonly brilliant that in the grand scheme of things, it's still probably the best, if not, got to be top 10 achievements musically of all rock history. But Sun King is a total ripoff of Fleetwood Mac. Now, I know all of you mouth breathers out there are like going, Fleetwood Mac? Didn't Rumors come out after 7 years after blah, blah, blah? Shut up for a second and hear me now and listen to me later. Head to the chapel. I'm talking about the old Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac was a band for 50 years before Rumors came out. Okay, they were a totally different band. They were a British blues band, if you can believe that, with 3 guitar players. And all of them were great and different, diverse. And it's a powerful band that never really completely found its way, I guess. I don't know. But they had a song called Albatross, which was this weird, and again, they were doing mostly blues stuff and really good. The head of the band was Peter Green. They had a couple other, Danny Kerwin, and what was the other guy? Other guitar players, songwriters and stuff. This is before Christy McVie joined the band. And they did some amazing stuff. And Peter Green was sort of blues virtuoso and a great songwriter, underrated. He wrote a Black Magic Woman that became a big hit for Santana. He also wrote Green Manalishi, which was a big, huge hit for Judas Priest later on. So this guy, and he was only around, the band was only around for a couple of years before Peter Green lost his mind, I guess. I don't know. Supposedly got kidnapped from hornswoggled, I guess is the appropriate term, from an airport by a couple of freaky cult members and went to a acid party and never came back. Basically, is the liturgy on that unfortunate downturn. But their biggest hit song of their own was a song called Albatross. And this was just like this weird instrumental that became a huge hit in Britain. I don't know if it did anything in the United States. I probably didn't. But uh, um, it was iconic in Britain. It was just this slow, melodic guitar song with a lot of vibe and hard to explain. But the easiest way to explain it is listen to Sun King because it's a total ripoff of Albatross. And the Beatles add some harmonies and stuff to it to try to disguise it, I guess. I don't know. But again, there's a lot of outtakes. These little short little things are all outtakes on Abbey Road. The Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, and Sun King are, because they've got some. They use their harmony vocals to make it, majestic. But Sun King is a plagiarized tune, so I'm putting it on the worst of Beatles lists extra credit because of the ripoff that it was, not because of the artistry inherent in it. But somebody's got to go on record as saying that this, And then the other one, again, same thing, plagiarism, puts it on this list. And I don't know, people like, this will probably be the one that gets the most cankles raised or whatever. Was it? Cankers? Something will get raised. And we're going with Come Together. Come Together, look, Ringo on Come Together, one of the best drum riffs ever. The song itself is rocking as hell in its own little sort of slow-paced, methodical heaviness and darkness. But, it's a total ripoff of Chuck Berry. Down to the lyrics. How it goes, here comes a brand new... I think the song is called You Can't Catch Me. And you listen to it. Go spin that song right now. And you tell me if it's not a rip. In fact, the rumor mill has it so that the publisher of the original Chuck Berry tune is one of those old school sort of mob guys. Shh, don't tell anybody. And threatened to kill Lennon for stealing the tune and not, paying out the royalties. And they made a deal under the table that Lennon would do a bunch of cover versions of other tunes that this guy also owned the publishing to, and let him take all the publishing so he could make a mint off of that. And that turned into the album Rock and Roll Music. Lennon's solo album in the mid-70s. And that's supposedly what the deal was. That's why he didn't really feel like doing a bunch of like old school throwaway cover tunes that weren't even really all that good and obviously very stale. He supposedly did that, and again, this is the rumor mill talking, because the guy threatened to, put his nuts in a wood chipper or something to that effect. And listen to Come Together and then listen to the Chuck Berry tune. It's even the opening lyrics are exactly the same. I got a brand new, so Anyway, that's all the time we've got for. That's my list. You know, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, I'm a huge fan. Don't get me wrong. I think that the Beatles' second album is one of the best albums in all of history, and I think that the other ones are pretty good too. These 10, 12, technically, are clunkers, and if they would have been on anybody else's album besides the greatest band of all time, they would have been, they never would have. Nobody would have given them second thought. It would be just like total filler. But hey, when you're that big, people are, you're entitled to, take a day off once in a while or phone something in. God knows I do that on top 10 worst stuff lists. So anyway, that's all the time we got. Thanks to everybody out there for, everything I said on here. They're just opinions. Okay. If you want to cast aspersions against me, feel free to do so in the old comment the Rooney section. But I'm just trying to get out there, have some fun. If you feel that I've been egregious in my determinations here, or feel upset with me or something like that, I encourage you to come up with your own video. That's all you can do. And I'm doing this is on camera phone in the middle of the night, so I'm not freaking anybody out with all my weird exaltations. So, I mean, if you want to get back at somebody, just the best way to get back at somebody is to be a success on your own. So go out and make a list of your own. And you might not get a lot of likes or views or any of that type of stuff, but that's okay. Don't do it for that. Do it because you want to express yourself. It's fun. It's cathartic. That's all the time I got for you. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on this journey with me. And what a pleasure it's been to have lived long enough to be able to deliver this top 10 worst stuff to you. Tune in for others as much as you can, and smash the frickin' like button if my mateys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you. And wait, one more thing.